Three mere mortals discover their ability to create entire universes with their minds alone. Upon discovering their abilities, these three, gods if you will, join forces to create the Dark and Stormy Nights, a supercharged team of creatives with the aim of helping artists and writers around the world while combating the forces of boredom and mundanity. They are the Dark and Stormy Nights.
Howdy, y'all. It's Loki from the Dark and Stormy Nights, and we are back with another episode. Is that good? We're on. We're on.
Sure.
Introduce yourself, scum.
Howdy, this is Tyr.
And Odin.
We were debating my intro, and that's what I went with. Eat it if you don't like it. So, we are live. Fuck it, we're doing it live.
Right.
We are back with another episode. This is branding, right? We are creating our brand.
Author identity and all that.
Everybody likes their own brand.
Jesus, really?
No fat bastard quotes. All right.
All right.
Okay. So why don't we get an overview of what's going on today? What are we giving them? What are they tasting? What are we laying down for them?
Are you done?
Maybe.
So today we are going to go over creating the author identity and what all you can do to build up that identity. Do you want me to go ahead and just jump right into this list?
Jump in the fire. Let's start. Let's hit it.
We can take it apart if you guys have any questions.
I would just, elaborate on each point instead of just reading a list. But yeah.
We'll dismantle it like a repossessed Autobot.
All right, you guys jump in with explanations.
Sure.
So the first part is writing your author bio.
Which we did as homework.
Okay, that's what that's considered, though, that little intro thing that I did.
Just
or
like
that
in
we just
school.
did.
Moments before you go to class.
Yes. We did not study at all. We came in and we took an hour longer than we should have.
Writing your bio.
Writing our bios.
On
You
the bus,
can't
it's all shaky.
You can't tell at home because we're recording this a week before it'll go up. But
Right.
But yeah, it took us extra long.
A little bit.
You're
Well,
welcome.
it is the holidays.
But mine's pretty fabulous. Are we going to read these now,
it
or
is
are we saving
fabulous.
it?
I don't know. Do we want to go into author bio now, or do we want to?
Well, I don't care. I mean, I didn't know if you wanted to hit it as we go, or you wanted to give them a layout, and we'll come back around.
Well, let's go through all the different things here, and then maybe in the next segment we'll go more into depth into how to write your bio, and then what we came up with.
And what we've done wrong.
Right, probably.
Fair.
Okay, so building your website would be another step. And there's quite a few free options, I think, for building your sites. We personally have used WordPress and have been pretty happy with it, I think.
We were in the beginning, but it's limited.
It's a little bit limited. So now we use Bluehost, still with WordPress, though.
Right, but we
There's-
use the WordPress
there's-
plugin on Bluehost, but
Right.
that's it.
There's pros and cons to everything.
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do, and we couldn't do some of the things we need to do as a cohesive business. Maybe as an author, it'll be enough.
Right. Basically, if you want to make money off your website or monetize anything, put ads up, any of that stuff, you won't be able to do any of that on a free site.
Not that we're doing that.
No, I
Right.
hear I hear great things about Squarespace, especially when they pay for advertisement. Should they?
Did
ever
you just
want to.
whore for somebody who's not paying us?
I'm joking, but no, they're like literally on every podcast. It's
No,
Oh, really?
don't talk about them. Those bitches aren't paying us. Squarespace, you want a spot? Pay me.
So obviously, because we've pretty much stuck to WordPress, we can't speak to other platforms and how well they work and whatnot.
I mean, honestly, so I've used a few website making
Tools.
platforms in the
Mhm.
past and tools and stuff like that in the past. And honestly, Bluehost does not deliver everything they promise. I
Right.
don't think. But
Okay.
they're still one of the better ones that I've used.
Okay.
You know? So
I like WordPress because I'm the one who had to basically build the site and put all the content up, and I think that their templates and everything are actually pretty easy to use. You can make a decent website, I think, fairly easily. What did it take me, a weekend to do it?
well, you did most of it in a day, which was pretty
Right.
impressive. I mean,
And mind you,
She is younger, so she's savvier.
I am but I'm not.
She's no millennial, though.
I am not a
The
computer
website
person
might be better if she was.
at all.
No, I'm
Like
kidding.
I have broken a few, I will say, electronic devices. They do not like me. They make fun of me at work because I'm like the Grim Reaper of computers. So every time somebody's computer goes wrong across the office, they're like, "Were you over at their desk?" Like they still make fun of me for breaking so many computers.
So if they need an upgrade, they call you over.
Right, basically. So I'm not a computer person, but I mean, if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. So
So do it.
that's your glowing endorsement right there.
Right.
So once your website skeleton is built and you have a nice theme that you like, add some content. You're creative. Figure it out. Show it off.
Well, you gotta put something. There has to be something on your website to bring them in, right?
Right.
Now, naturally, if you have some good books, say you're a Stephen King type person, they're gonna just come anyways. But most of us aren't. Most of you guys listening to us right now, you're trying to build your
Probably other
brand
indies,
now,
yeah.
so you got to catch their attention. You got to keep it.
Right.
And then you've got to give them kind of a taste of something,
Right.
so that when it's time for them to come back and buy your book, they have a reason to. They're like,
Right. So, like what we did was we put like the blog as the main page on our site. And so when you go in there, you're automatically seeing anything new that we've put up. You can use apps like Canva to create images and, logos and all that stuff. And then you can fill your website up with what you want is for it to represent your genre, right? Or who you are as an author.
right.
So you want your visitors to come in and see your website and know what to expect from you. Make it easy for them to find your books if you already have them published. Make it easy for them to figure out what type of books you'll be writing. Make it easy for them to find out how to follow you. You can attach a page right in your website with your author bio that you just wrote and all that. And that kind of leads us to the next step with create your newsletter mailing list. As we said, you want to make it easy for them to figure out how to follow you. Most of these email services have a pop-up subscriber form that you can put right on your website. And that's
Right.
usually a pretty easy little widget or something that you add, and then somebody goes on your website, 5 seconds later, the little pop-up comes, "Hey, do you want to subscribe?" That kind of thing. And that will help you build up your mailing list. Next step would be join social media. Now, I am epically terrible at social media, so this is probably more of a Loki thing.
Honestly, you're killing your pages is destroying the podcast
And
page
follower
right now.
count. No, but like as far as like
Interaction.
interaction.
Oh
I'm
no,
so
I'm
bad.
just an
I'm
asshole.
so bad.
That's all.
Yeah,
it
but
is.
that actually does. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily is positive, but having audience participation is bound to create interest in
Plus, I
you.
refuse to do the one that everybody tells you have to have, and that's Facebook. I refuse to do Facebook. Facebook is an evil place. It is
I think
every
it's
single
all-
circle of hell all in one, and I won't do it. I refuse.
think
We're
they-
going to be onboarding a couple of people to take care of our Facebook for us.
Mhm.
So
I think they all have their ups and downs.
I was
you
going
know,
to say,
it
why is
what it
one more evil than another?
It's the people that
because
flock
it's
there.
who's there. Yeah, it's just they're
Okay,
all
okay, fair
Facebook is
enough.
full of terrible people who say and do terrible things, and
It just depends. I mean, you're gonna run into bad people.
like
no
I
matter
tried to
what.
start our Facebook group. I was like, what, I'll just go on just for our Dark and Stormy Nights Facebook, and immediately within 5 people got a Nazi. I'm not even kidding. This isn't a joke.
Right.
I wasn't laughing when it happened. The guy started, you're not and I was like, we're done. Click,
Yeah.
delete. I'm not doing this.
Yeah. My limited foray into that was weirder,
So-
much weirder. I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's just terrible. I'm not even about to do it.
See, but even in like a group full of like the writing community, there's a lot of people like constantly interacting in there, and like a good most of them are decent people.
But I haven't met a single Nazi on Twitter. I'm just saying, not one.
Really?
Laura Ingram doesn't count. She doesn't interact with me. but no.
Do they have a better algorithm for keeping people
No,
separate?
I think just look. I think it's.
Well,
I
we're
think the
pretty
people
immersed in the
writing
writing community, yeah.
If there are Nazis among
Okay.
them, they're better about keeping it secret.
That's the thing, is they're trying to sell
They gotta
books,
have
so
groups.
Right.
Yeah.
Or on
Um,
Twitter, people don't care. Or on Facebook, people don't care. They're just like, I'm a Nazi. Okay. You know.
Well, okay, but
Okay,
so
Grandma.
Right. Take your meds, Grandma.
even so, you
Oh,
are
Thanksgiving.
an extrovert and you're constantly like interacting with people and everything, whereas I am horribly awkward. So I don't know how to talk to people, and it definitely shows in social media. Now, I'm also a big freaking cheerleader on Twitter, so I'm constantly retweeting other people's stuff, and like I really love to see them succeed, and I'm that, non-speaking person in the background going, hey, you have a book out, I'll retweet and hope that gets you some sales, but that's really it.
So
So they don't actually know that I'm trying to be supportive. I'm just that weirdo who doesn't say anything but retweet stuff.
I used to have an enormous Tumblr page. It was disgustingly popular back in the day. And then Tumblr made some changes. And
Yeah.
afterwards, it became impossible to build
I feel like there's nobody on Tumblr
a
anymore.
Tumblr. No, it's terrible. They ruined their own company. I mean, it's honestly a piece of shit now. Okay, so they got rid of porn and other things like that, but they've changed the entire culture of the site to where
Just by getting rid of porn?
yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but the porn people were more sociable,
Well,
better people.
That's how you got VHS over Betamax.
So,
For those really old people in the audience.
Anyway,
It's a historical
but-
fact.
so, but
I-
do you have any tips for people as far as interacting on social media?
So you do something every day, and I know it sounds like it's a lot, but I've actually checked my social media trends, and I would get apps to manage all of your social media. I used to use, there's a bunch of them out there. It used to be Crowdfire and Unfollow Today and stuff like that. Keep your numbers pretty balanced. People follow you just to get follows and then unfollow you. Don't tolerate it on any of your things. But don't be that jerk who follows a bunch of people, then when they follow you, unfollowing them, because that's like being the guy at the party who just talks about himself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right.
You want the back and forth interaction. You
And
don't
there's so
want
many-
this lopsidedness.
Yeah, there's so many people who will argue that, a follow doesn't necessarily deserve a follow. And you're right. You are
Maybe.
not obligated to follow me. But don't get pissed off when I unfollow you.
Right.
Because
Oh, yeah, I've seen the temper tantrum.
because
Yeah.
like the thing is they're like they act like offended over the fact that you're unfollowing them because they didn't follow you back. And like you're just there for numbers, but the truth is
Who's got the time? Is there numbers that low?
no, but see, sometimes you can tell. But the bottom line is that you clearly have no intention of interacting with me.
Right.
Why would I go chasing
Yeah.
after your posts and liking your things and commenting on your stuff
Right.
when you aren't interested in doing
Well,
that
am I
with
hurting
me?
your dreams of being an internet celebrity? No.
I feel like I'm
well,
stuck in an
yes,
episode of Dark
I'm not even
Mirror.
going to be that like way about it, but my point is that you clearly aren't interested in interacting with me. Not that I even am that like high maintenance on Twitter because I hardly post, but I'm not going to retweet your stuff and like your posts if you're not going to do the same for me. Like
Right.
it's a reciprocation thing.
There's a few people out there who have kind of created like a social media budget, if you will. You can find a lot of them on Twitter and stuff, and they kind of give you ideas for the things you should do, like surveys and questions and stuff. I don't do any of that stuff. I am just a weirdo who
What's the
likes
budget? Like time management?
It's like on Monday you should do this, on Tuesday you should do this, on Wednesday. And what time of the day is best and what have you. Like I said, I'm too lazy to do any of that. I don't follow any of those rules. I post when I'm
Right.
feeling like it. I get my manic episodes, and suddenly Twitter will get 300 things inside of like 2 hours, and then sometimes
Right.
I'll go a couple days with nothing.
You can see
Yeah.
why
Oh, yeah,
there's
sometimes it,
actual
like-
people being paid for this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
for
it's
sure.
a lot of work. It's a lot
It'll
of
like
work.
at times like set off my social anxiety, and I'll be like, I can't go on there. Like, and literally it'll be like a couple of days before I can go back on Twitter at all because it's literally got my anxiety.
I'll
through
be
the roof.
honest with you guys. I am using all of you for catharsis. Really, I mean, I'm on Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, and I still have a Tumblr, but I don't use it anymore because it's unsatisfying as shit. And yeah,
No porn.
it's not just that. Nobody interacts. It's terrible. It's so one-sided. It's disgusting. I love the fact that I'm on Twitter and people interact. I love being on Reddit because people interact. You know, those two platforms are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Instagram's more my the close people that I know. I have a much smaller following on there, but
Yeah, people interacting with me in general. Like, it doesn't even have to be like social media. Like, just in general, like, kind of like, like,
What was that?
hide me. What do I say? I don't know what to do here.
But that's what I'm saying. These aren't fans or anything. This is.
No, they're just people to interact with.
But I think that's cool though. Later on down the road, as your stuff gets famous or what have you, if it does or what have you, these people were around from the beginning. I'm gonna remember JW and Mercury and Mafia Hairdresser and everything. If we do get, that J.K. Rowling dough. So
Oh, hell yeah.
I was like, yeah, these dudes like tweeted us out in the beginning.
Hell yeah. We'll still be their biggest supporters right
Yep.
back.
Would you buy an island with that kind of money? Jeez.
An island?
I mean, literally, didn't she give like 90% of her money to charity?
I don't think it was that
No,
much.
it wasn't that much. But she did give a lot of money to
She
charity.
did give a lot of money to charity.
But
I might buy an island.
Okay, so Twitter tips and social media tips is just kind of, interact as much as you can.
yeah, and get to know people. Don't just like be superficial. Don't be one-sided or anything
Right,
like that.
don't be pretentious. Like, realize that you guys are all in the same boat,
Right,
that
right.
kind of thing.
Yeah, you do
Ask
get
questions. People seem to like the questions.
yeah.
I'm
and
always
it's-
so afraid to ask questions on Twitter, though, because I have quickly discovered that my sense of humor does not match Twitter at all. So I post things and I'm like, this is freaking gold, and like nobody likes
Oh
it.
yeah. I've lost followers over stuff that I'm like, this was completely innocent. What's going on here?
Did they miss the sarcasm or?
No, they just don't find me funny,
Well,
which I'm
things-
used to. Nobody
Things
finds me
don't
funny.
always translate, and unfortunately, if you've got to clarify
God,
it,
no.
you miss
Like,
the mark.
Here's the thing: is like I would post back when I was active on Facebook. Like I would post these like memes and stuff, and everybody loved them. I was hilarious on Facebook, but on Twitter, nobody gets my sense of humor.
But it's a give and take. It's an economy, really, of
And it's so funny because other people will comment too, and they'll be like, you post this like tweet that's gold and like nothing, crickets, and then you're like, hey, I'm gonna eat all the cheese today, and like you get 5,000
Oh my God.
likes on
The
it.
most-
Like, it's so stupid.
the most simple-minded, stupid things really kick it up. There's been things like one of my biggest posts was quitting smoking, like,
Sure, because
You
it's
know.
relatable. Probably the same thing with the cheese.
and I'm like,
I mean,
This is nothing-
I'm all for cheese, but
But
does
then
it
you-
really deserve all the likes?
you post some deep ass shit and there's nothing, crickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, and you say something profound, and you're like, no, nobody. saw
Well,
my
then I'll
tweet.
wonder if it was something. It's like, okay, maybe it wasn't as funny as I thought it was, and I'll post it on Instagram or I'll post it
Right,
on
and
Reddit,
a bunch of
and
people
it'll
like
just
it.
explode, and
Yeah,
people are like,
Twitter's
you know,
a weird place.
and I'm like, yeah, and nobody on Twitter gets it.
No,
I don't know.
So you gotta know.
No, it's the same thing for me. Nobody, and I like, honestly, I don't even know if anybody even sees my tweets, but like, nobody likes anything I post. So
So yeah,
that's probably why I post so much less now.
you got to know where to put what, and that's the
I
thing.
guess.
So,
And the thing is, yeah, don't
know your audience.
put
That's
too much
true.
investment
I mean,
in
I'm
any
not
one
offensive.
thing. 'cause
Don't get me wrong. My sense of humor is twisted. I do
Right.
not post that stuff on Twitter.
Oh, all my offensive stuff goes on Instagram.
Loki and I have worked on many projects, and I often bring up the pet rock because it's a dumb thing that shouldn't have took off, and it did.
Yeah, you
And
just
much
never
more
know.
complex and more interesting and better thought things go nowhere.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't predict things like this.
Yeah, there's been
Yeah.
things I've seen.
You
it's like,
just
this is
it's more about
genius, and
quantity.
Fails.
It's it's like going on the bar and hitting on somebody. If people still do that, I don't know.
Don't do that.
I mean, at this point, it's probably all apps, isn't it? Yeah. Oh well.
I wouldn't
don't know about
I think
that.
I'm too old to know any
I'm
of
just
this.
saying it was quantity over
I-
quality.
I see. As much of an extrovert as I am, I only really hit on people I know.
Yeah, that's always easier.
So
Where were we? Oh, so if you are not already on Twitter and you are part of the writing community, feel free to hop on over there and follow at the Dark and Stormy K1 and at Nova Drake Writer. And from there, there's actually a lot of people within the writing community who have like posts and tips and help for newbie writers. It's a great place to get a lot of information if you're just getting started. Connect with other authors. As we said, you can do that through Twitter or a lot of different platforms where authors gather, different Facebook groups. There's like tons of Facebook groups.
you got me there, man.
No, there's tons of Facebook groups for like writers following each other, answering questions, troubleshooting, that kind of thing. I go on there and peek around a little bit here and there. Build up your mailing lists with teasers and free content. And keep in mind that not everything should be a sales pitch. You're not constantly selling a book. You're creating fans.
Well, that's where I am with social media, though. So I am almost never selling anything. We honestly, we don't make money off the show. We don't sell anything yet. I do have some designs for shirts and everything I'm going to put up. We do have not GoFundMe, what do you call it? Patreon. But we don't pitch it. We don't talk about it too much. You guys are welcome to go there and help us out if you like. But I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. We're trying to do a damn good show is what we're trying to do.
Prove your love is what he's saying.
Yeah. Yes. Obey.
You can buy us.
But yeah, no, I think that it really is more about being part of the community and authentic and everything like that.
Because I mean, if you sold yourself, they're more likely to be interested in a product when you actually unveil one.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You're creating fans, and once you create fans, they'll want to buy your books.
Right.
So,
but if it's nothing but buying, it's noise.
Correct.
Okay, you want to come back after the break with some more noise?
I mean, sure.
Okay.
Dear listener, we accept that we had to sacrifice the whole Saturday for your entertainment, but we think you'd be crazy to miss an episode of The Dark and Stormy Nights. The world sees writers as they want to see them, in the simplest terms and the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each of us is a brain,
And a dreamer.
And a creator.
and a basket case.
A researcher.
And a comedian.
Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, The Dark and Stormy Nights.
Listen to Dark and Stormy.
All right, we are back. In real time, that break was way longer. But now we're here.
Well, that's why we're not doing live.
Yes. I think maybe, I don't know. Would you guys be okay with live one day?
I think that is quite dangerous, especially with drinking.
And the kind of shit I say. So. in
My
front of-
anxiety is high enough, but thank you.
No, you wouldn't do it on a stage in front of like hundreds of people? Thousands
What's wrong
even?
with you? Why do you hate me?
Well, if there's thousands, that sounds like money, so I might be more interested.
What does money
You
sound
guys
like?
sit on stage. Am I even on? Mine sounds quieter. No, you guys can sit on stage, and I'll be like back behind the curtain with my microphone, just throwing in commentary here and there.
We'll get you like a mask or something, so when you're out on stage, you know, like
I don't know.
Well, if
that
we
that
could
would
do it
help.
like the Gorillas, and just
I
have
don't know, 'cause,
cartoon
like,
versions of us projected right in front of
I
us.
was a band nerd as a kid, so I was on stage all the time for that. But I was like in a crowd of people, you know.
Yeah. I don't know, even with DJing.
I had only a couple of solos.
Because I DJ'd for ages, and
Then again, my anxiety wasn't as bad when I was young.
it took booze to DJ, so.
Yeah, but you're an extrovert.
so.
You like talking to people.
No, I took alcohol to do what I did. So. Okay, so let's continue.
The list.
Yes.
Back to the list.
list.
Okay, so and for anybody who's wondering, we actually like kind of search a lot of different information and a lot of different sources and kind of compile things that we see across everything or things that stand out as like good ideas and whatnot. So this is kind of
Aw, it's so nice of you to make us sound professional.
I mean, that's what I do.
It's mostly her.
I mean, we all Google.
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Anyway, so we we take like the ideas and
I
everything.
Bing. Speak for yourself,
Oh,
peasant.
jeez.
You and 2 other people on this planet.
I'm kidding. No, I even have a Google phone. I love Google everything. Endorse me.
Anyway. Anyway. So basically we take the best advice that we find across multiple different sources and we kind of, anything that is everywhere, we kind of piece together. For
Although on the bio, they all say the same thing.
Mostly, yeah. Okay, so
And I ignored almost all of it.
It's all for journalistic stuff, like nonfiction based. Very little of it, in my opinion, applies.
okay, so something that I've seen come up from multiple people as far as advice for getting people to sign up for your newsletter is trying out BookFunnel and InstaFreebie and then setting up like a free short story, like maybe a prequel to your novels or something like that, and then hook people who already like your writing into signing up for your newsletter with that story. You know what I'm saying? So they
Mhm.
sign up through InstaFreebie or BookFunnel,
Right.
and then they get your free book.
Yeah, that's kind of I think where it's all going right now is people want, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Like I was talking to you guys about doing this myself, where I'm gonna start writing stories parallel to the universe that I'm writing my major story in, that are like like the Mandalorian is with Star Wars right now. It's kind of hot enough for everybody to know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So where it's not pertinent to the primary story, but it takes place in the same universe and.
Well, now that 9's done and the whole Nana trilogy, whatever the hell you call it.
Nonology.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Nina trilogy.
I don't know, man. I haven't had enough caffeine for this.
Wow.
Point being, now that that's over, Mandalorian basically is all there is.
I want you guys to know for how much these two bicker. It's because they're practically one person.
Stop.
With
Like,
enough
no-
differences to hate each
Literally,
other.
no.
We were
you
just-
guys bicker like a married couple, but you pretty much are. Like, I feel like it might come across as like you two snarking at each other through the audience, but truly
We've
it's
been
just
friends
because
for
you're so close.
25 years. It's a long time.
Yes.
Most
Very
people
long
have
time.
run by now. So I do not keep people.
Apparently,
around
I don't
long.
learn.
So nope,
Exactly.
nope. You just stay in line, bitch. So,
Anyway, so it's all out of love, people. Just keep that in mind.
okay.
But yes, anyway, with the newsletter, the idea was that by hooking people into your newsletter with some of your writing is that you're getting people to sign up who you know already like your writing.
So are you saying that we should put the writing in the newsletter itself? Is that what the newsletter's for?
No. So basically, you write a short story or a prequel or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
InstaFreebie and BookFunnel are like a system that's set up. And
portal?
they can drive people to your newsletter by offering this book for free. And they'll do promos and stuff too. They can offer you as part of I don't really know how it works. Here's the thing, is that I'm currently working on a short story that's a prequel to a series that I have not yet published. And a lot of this advice that's going on, what we're going to do is we're going to try this out. We're going to try it out with the steampunk story, but I'm also going to try some of it out with this separate story. I recognize the fact that The Cost of Justice is a book that it was written for myself. It was not really meant for a wide audience. I know that based on who's president, half of the population is going to hate it. Just because of what's
Still
in
another
it.
half out there. That's a lot of people.
Right. Well, I mean, it is what it is. It wasn't meant to appeal to a huge audience. It has a lot of underlying statements in it. But I do have other series that I'm working on, and one of them is a YA vampire comedy. So that book is about halfway written. I'm hoping to have it out early next year, and I'm currently writing a prequel to it that's going to be a short story, and I'm going to test out this whole BookFunnel or InstaFreebie thing. I'll do a little bit more research, see which one works best, and I'll try this out, and I will let you guys know, which of these processes actually works the best. But that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to do, the book launch for the vampire comedy, and I will tie it into that freebie to get people to sign up, then launch the book, and we'll see, how that works for gathering up a mailing audience.
See, what I'm hearing is teriyaki chicken on a toothpick in front of Panda Express, or like the cheese cubes at the supermarket.
Basically.
Just a little free sample to get you in.
If they wanted to get my business, they'd be doing the pineapple chicken or the mango chicken. I'm just saying.
Ugh.
Those are
To both of
delicious.
those.
They're delicious. Anyways, okay. I'm going to probably start posting some of the short stories I've got on our website, on our, my author page. I'll probably put a little blog up there or something like that. So.
Yeah, I do that too. I put but you have to drive traffic to your website, which
yeah,
is part
that,
of what
that is the hard part.
That's part of what the newsletter's for, and that's why using systems that are already set up like BookFunnel and InstaFreebie are good for doing things
Everybody
like
is saying you need the blog nowadays to get the business for a book or whatever. But
You
it's
do. You
so
have
hard.
to have some content up.
It is so difficult to build an audience. It's ridiculous. Like there's just so many out there. There's so much
Right,
going
but
on in
that's
the
what
world.
these tips are for, is to get you to create the mailing list so that when you put up a new post, it's like, hey, here's some new stuff for
Sure,
you
sure,
to
yeah.
read. And that drives people to your website. That drives your traffic up.
Okay, I dig it.
So
Can't wait to see where
anyway,
it goes.
this is the advice I've seen. I've seen it from multiple sources. I will try it out. We will report back to you. There's, like I said, a ton of advice out there, and we're by no means experts. But I have started finding people here and there that I have just begun following. I recommend Creative Indie. The guy's name is Derek Murphy, I believe. And I've only just begun to start like searching through his content and stuff. I was actually looking for tips on book covers. And so I haven't really gone through all of his advice and everything, but I know that he has an absolute ton of content that is advice for indie writers and everything. I mean, it's from publishing, Kindle, book cover creation, advertising, like it's all sorts of stuff.
So is it like services you can use, or is it like
he
a
gives
formula
away
of what works?
Yeah, he gives away a ton of free advice. Like I said, I've only scratched the surface of what he's
Like you're writing this genre and you want this kind of backdrop kind of thing, or?
I've only scratched the surface of what he's putting
Okay.
out. So what I'm saying to you is that if you are looking for advice, there's a ton of people who are offering free advice out there. I recommend him because of the volume of advice he's giving. And he will tell you, too, there's something that I read from him that basically is like, you're going to do whatever you want. I'm just telling you what's worked for me.
And that's actually, I think, how it should be. Okay, so there's a lot of suggestions, a lot of advice, a lot of professional people out there saying that
This
should
is
do
the way
this,
it's
you
done.
should do that, this is the way it's done, and stuff like that. But honestly,
Yeah, he doesn't come at you like that because that makes me automatically, I don't want to listen to you.
Right.
You know?
well, but the thing, honestly, in the end, you listen to the advice
Right.
and then do what you
Or
want.
at least try it out.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
that's the thing.
But take a look at what's working, you know,
Right.
and like we were talking about the author bios. I'm about to, in a little bit, we'll read our author bios or whatever.
Right.
And I came with something different than what's being done because I think I'm not trying to necessarily stand out from everybody else, but I'm a fucking weirdo. And that's the kind
No,
of
I
shit
love your
do.
author bio, and it's perfect. It should be a little bit personalized so that people know what they're getting from
So-
you.
I don't remember what we were talking about last episode, but it did come up, and I was saying basically the same thing: is try the rules out, give it a real go, and afterwards abandon them and just see what happens.
Yeah, do whatever you want. You know what feels right, and I think gut.
But
has,
try it.
Gut has a
But
lot
that's
to do
what
with
I'm
it.
saying is we will try these as well. We'll let you know which ones worked for us and which ones didn't. And, you know, if you think that these are, if we're marketing to a similar audience or whatnot, you will maybe get a general idea of whether this is going to work for you.
Oh, hell, guys.
Save yourself from time and money. And
If you guys have done any of this, give us some
Oh, yeah,
feedback.
message.
Tell us what's going on. We'll mention your name on the air and what you wrote or what have you and what you did that worked for you. I'd love to hear it.
I got to say, though, out of the books I've read, and there's been many, and the fiction ones I remember the bios of, none of them obeyed any of these rules.
Yeah, I find it like hard to think that would be a common thing, but
wait, what
That
rules?
In fiction.
the rules
I
that
haven't.
we got for
like
for author
usually
bio.
like 6 rules. Are we getting into that now, or?
In a minute.
You still
Not
got a little
yet.
bit more to get
Okay,
through,
Yeah.
right?
all right.
Yeah.
We'll come back.
Okay, so and just to clarify, I did look up because I just signed up for this guy's his newsletters or whatnot, and he sent me a series of emails. I haven't even gone through them yet, but there's a lot of advice on getting reviews and stuff like that. So I do recommend this one, and it is Derek Murphy with Creative Indie. Just because for the volume of information he has, it can't hurt to read it. You know.
Sure.
But there's also plenty of other people out there offering tons of advice as well. So like we said, try out different things, see what works. And then the final thing that I had was network. Work with other authors. Find people who are, within your genre or similar genres. Not only for critique partners, but I mean, you can do cross promotions if you are in similar situations and you both have newsletters out. You can, hey, I just posted this in my newsletter. Maybe it would work for your audience.
Right.
And from there, you swap out stuff, and some of your audience will transfer over to the other person's audience. If you have a group of authors, like maybe a small group of critique partners and, people who beta read within each other, post reviews for each other, advertise for each other. Hey, I have a book launch coming up. Can you throw this in your newsletter? It's giving you newsletter content, and it's also advertising, cross-advertising
Sure.
to the different, readers. So,
I thought about trying to get us going with like an author newsletter or something like that. It's just so much work, and we've got a lot going on already. I might.
no, we'll do it eventually. I'll get to it, but we're just,
It's just we've got a lot of work. I know that you guys at home don't necessarily see it, but there's a ton of work that goes
Right.
into this show.
We'll
On
get
top
there
of,
eventually.
having a life, having a full-time job, all those things that come in with that.
Right. Yeah. Maybe one day we'll be able to afford to just do the shows.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, that'd be amazing.
Go
It
on.
certainly
I'm
would
sorry.
get better.
No, you're fine. Okay, so speaking of networking, if there's anybody within my genre who wants to jump in on that with me, you just send us a message. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. We are whores, and we will do what it
Well,
takes.
it's not just that, but I just set up my newsletter. I've had my site set up. I started publishing. I have more books coming out. And you guys are great for me to bounce ideas off of and stuff, but at the same time, you also aren't advertising and putting up newsletters just yet. So
That's true. Yeah. Well, I got a long way to go before my book is done. A long way.
So we'll get there, but
And yeah. Same with Odin.
Yeah, well, I have to narrow my focus. I've got too much as far as other projects. So, yeah, not even important. Move on.
so moving on to the author bio, I had some things that I had kind of pieced together from multiple different sources, but
Do you want to
guys,
use your rules?
No, we don't have to use just my rules. We can use.
They're all the same rules. Every website I went to is the same
They are
6
pretty
things.
much the same rules.
They moved the order on a few of them, but for the most part, it's 6 things.
But the first thing we do is mention the author's name, right? You are the author. But we do this in third person.
Yeah,
Third person. That was the first rule I saw.
Third person. Almost everything says third person. Mention the author's name and possibly whatever credential fits right with the author's name. So, Dr. Loki Laufey Arson, PhD.
Yeah, credentials, if applicable, was something I saw, and making sure that your genre is clear.
Yes. Yeah. Spit that
Or
out.
genres.
Right. So, all right. What else you got?
I have, who are you? Obviously, that's important in your bio.
Who are you?
Really?
Sorry.
And then if you have awards, you can mention those.
Right.
And make sure you add something personal/emotional.
Okay.
Or personal information.
So,
What do you guys have? Do you have anything different?
Basically the same thing, except the last line tends to be, website addresses and all that jazz.
yeah, I agree with that. And that actually I didn't have initially. I added it in, but
Honestly, I think that goes
my
under the
website, I
paragraph, in
don't-
my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have it on my website, but I do have it on my Facebook, not my Facebook, my Goodreads and Amazon author profiles.
so yeah, third person, author and credentials first. Further established credentials after that.
And awards. That was
right,
the one that was said.
historical information that contributes to. They want you to kind of keep with what's like just stuff that has to do with you being an author.
Oh, that was the other thing. Keep it short and concise, but do not omit relevant details.
right.
There was a lot of
This all
do
sounds
this,
so
but don't do
boring.
that. And then there was another one that
Does
said,
it not? It
What?
sounds boring.
It does, yeah. That's why I decided to do something completely different than what all this says.
and one of the rules was name drop, but don't do it crassly.
I know.
So it's like,
What does that mean, though? And
I-
we were talking about it. It's like I'm in the style of Dan Brown. You're discount Dan Brown. Is that who you are?
well, no,
Like-
I think it's fine when it's worded as readers of Dan Brown would also enjoy this series.
My story.
I think
Yeah,
that's
the
fine.
one
I don't know.
wrote.
It's,
I don't-
for me, it's shaky ground. I didn't do it.
I'm fine with that. I wouldn't do it personally, but I'm okay with it, and I sometimes will use that
You
recommendation.
know,
I'm okay
I'll
with
leave
that.
it up to you guys to tell me what I sound like when I write or what have you. But I feel like my style's all my own.
yeah, I feel like you're always trying to get your own tone.
I'm sure I'm
there.
in the tone of somebody else, but I don't know who that person is.
All right, who wants to go first? We wrote our own author bios. They may or may not be good. Let us know.
Do you want to go first?
Make the comments. Vote for the best one. It's mine.
What?
No, I'm kidding. You guys don't have to.
It's probably Tears, to be honest. We should close with Tears.
No, it isn't. It's Loki's.
Well, his
I'm
is
just-
certainly most amusing.
I'm just a goofball, so I wrote whatever the hell I wrote. Go ahead.
Odin, do you want to go first?
All right. I wrote it in the vein of various other books I've already heard. Now, I didn't have them in front of me, so this is from memory, and it's my own whatever.
But
so
he only reads Penthouse letters, so it's going to be like that.
do they have that was
I don't know
compiled
if that's
somewhere?
right. No, I'm just
that'd be
joking.
fun.
Yeah, last time I read that, I was underage. Go ahead.
Right? Do they still make that? All right. O. Borson, obviously Odin, was born somewhere between the need for card catalogs and the rise of our computer overlords. He grew up reading Arthurian legend before discovering the pulp, sword, and sorcery genre. Borson remains fascinated by future tech, medieval Renaissance history, archery, blacksmithing, swordmanship, and mythology. Borson has long had a passion for writing in between procrastination sessions and juggling other projects. It remains to be seen if other projects is just an excuse to engage in creative procrastination. Borson is an on-air personality contributor of the Dark and Stormy Nights podcast, on which he co-wrote this story. Borson is interested in writing in the detective genre, urban fantasy, medieval fantasy, dystopian future, and spacefaring, to name a few. Borson is currently working on a sword and sorcery novel under another pen name. And followed by links.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
My humor runs a little drier.
Are you doing yours next, or am I doing mine next?
I guess. Are we jumping right into
Are,
it?
are we not? No comments? Nothing?
Are we supposed to comment on that?
Are we critiquing?
I don't. Okay.
Sure, sure.
I didn't
Why
like
not?
I didn't
Tear
like
it
your
apart. I only gave it 5 minutes.
I didn't like your self-deprecation on the procrastination part. I don't think it helped your cause.
I don't disagree with that. You kind of want to encourage people to read your writing.
You should be the Steel Panther of writers.
Steel
Panther.
Oh God, what is that a cover band? I'm trying to remember.
No. It is like comedy metal, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's hilarious.
Also, I think that it's a little formal with you using the last name constantly.
Well, yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna make the Odin and O. Borson connection.
I don't know.
People are gonna be like, who? Who?
That's just how I saw it printed on a book cover. Is
Who
O.
dis?
Borson. You know, the way someone might do. I'm making up a name. J.A. Klein. You know.
Oh, I'm going the other way. It's gonna be Loki L.
Okay.
So, you want to do yours, or you want me to do mine?
I can go next, I guess.
And then we can tear it apart.
Yes, you
Dumb
can yell at me for the
soul.
lack of description.
We're never gonna live that down.
I wasn't wearing boots that day, but Nova Drake, also known as Tyr on the Dark and Stormy Nights, is a writer and a lover of all things fiction and fantasy. A lifelong sci-fi and superhero nerd, Nova has done all she can to escape the clutches of reality, spending as much time as possible with her head in other realms and her nose in a book. Who has time for reality when there are alien worlds to explore, dragons to ride, and evil asses to kick? Several years ago, Nova gave the voices in her head life with her first book, and there always seems to be more where they came from. Nova lives in the burbs with her clones, who manage to find crazy ways to inspire her every day.
I think the only thing I have to say about it is, do you think they're gonna have a problem with you saying asses? The writing industry seems awful sensitive.
Wait. Where was
They can
that?
kiss my
My,
ass.
literally, my mind glazed over because I don't see vulgarity anymore as an adult who watches normal
she's
TV.
Evil asses to kick. I don't have a problem with it personally.
Evil butt, I guess, if you really have to.
With two T's.
Okay, let me address this because I recently saw people posting about the swear words in books, and oh no, that's lazy writing. There's a better
Oh,
word
I think
for it.
in
You
the
know
book,
what else?
it doesn't matter.
What other words there are for it? That one, because people use them, because they're real,
Yeah.
because we're not a bunch of like 5-year-olds.
I'm trying to write stark realism, not some pansy stuff.
Well,
so.
it can go over the top. There are people that
kind
like
of writer-
way overuse
Here's
swearing
the
in
thing:
book, and
if it's not relevant to the character, if you're writing an elementary school teacher, fine, sure, whatever. I agree
Oh,
with you.
snickerdoodles.
It
No.
doesn't belong there. But if you're writing soldiers or,
Right.
like warriors
Yeah.
or,
Space pirates.
space pirates, pirates in general, like swear words
Yeah, but
are
they're for
words.
fun swearing.
What
There's-
kind of
it's
writer
different.
doesn't use every word in their toolbox?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
and they're completely
you're-
man-made. Grow up.
You're freaking dancing around something that is a simple freaking word.
Yeah.
the only objection I would have to swearing is, okay, a character can swear, the narrator, if it's a character, can swear, but I think
As
that
the narrator, I seldom do.
yeah, I don't recommend it, but if it's a person, if it's like a recollection or something,
Oh, yeah,
whatever.
yeah. If this is a hero's telling or something like that.
Right. But here's the thing. I've seen it where some authors, usually, they're earlier authors, it's
Spit it out.
self-published. But the point is that they tend to write the same tone. And like every character is over the top swearing. It actually will take you out of the novel.
Okay,
If all the voices
but let's
are the
clarify.
same.
A lot of the problems that people have is about bad writing. It is.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, it's not about the swear words.
Right, and this was something we talked about, I think, last week. Is you guys keep mistaking bad writing for
No,
Right,
I'm just saying.
They try
is-
to blame something within all writing on something that was just badly written.
correct. Yes, and you
And
can't.
like you should be able to differentiate. If you're a writer, you should be able to differentiate.
right. Yes. Exactly.
I'm just
It
giving
ju-
an example.
What
of
we're
where it
talking about is a
affected me.
lazy judgment.
Sure.
not lazy writing.
No, you're
So-
right.
Okay.
But beyond that, honestly, it's perfect. I loved it. I have no objections.
I still have a little wet tear upon my eye.
I wouldn't go that far, but
I mean, it's good enough.
All right. You guys ready for mine?
Go for it.
All right. I decided to go a little different for you, and this is mildly poetic. So here we go. My name is Loki Laufey Yarson, more idea than a person. A coyote committing arson, delivering verses at a bargain. Educated to a fault, I will rock you like basalt. Childish though adult, need you advice? Let's consult. Spinning tales of science fiction, fantasy, steam, and fission. You could say I'm on a mission to taste the human condition. I'll bring you horror seldom seen, leave you dancing in a dream, have you dodging laser beams and busting at the seams. This rap is coming to a close. As I complete my final prose, I present you with this rose. Peace out, boats and hoes. thedarkandstormynights.podbean.com, thedarkandstormynights.vegthesiermedia.com. Tell your friends. Tell your mom.
I love it.
So,
yeah, I think it actually covers a lot of the rules too. I mean, you mentioned genres and credentials
my
to some
only
degree.
concern with it at all was that people were going to be expecting poetry from him, as opposed to.
but I do not once mention poetry.
You don't.
Well, prose, but yeah.
No, but as something I do. It was all science fiction and horror and the things I actually do.
I
Boats
love
and
it.
hoes.
And
You read
fantasy.
it much slower this time, but like when you had first read it to me, it was almost rappy.
Yeah. Did you like it better that way?
I mean, a little bit, but like, I get it.
I mean, I would have.
I wanted to read it
behind
clear enough so that everybody understood what I was saying because I felt like I was tripping over my words a little bit the other, when I was reading it before. So
That was probably a better call.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You stick the microphone in my face, and suddenly I can't speak anymore. So.
And because you didn't follow any real format other than your own, there's nothing to critique. It was original. It was interesting.
well, and that's what
I
I'm
think
thinking
it's
is-
definitely interesting, and I think that's the thing is you read it and you're gonna be like, okay, what the fuck does this guy write? You're gonna want to look into it. I think
Well,
it's great.
yeah, you're either going to be like, this seems childish. I'm not into it, or I love this. I want to know more.
But yeah,
You're-
I wanted
there's
to
no
make
fence.
I wanted to make memorable. That was my intent. Is
I
more
think
than
that
anything.
it absolutely does that.
So, all right. Why don't we take a little break and we'll come back in a little bit with the conclusion of this exciting episode.
Sounds good.
Our merchandise brings all the boys to the yard. Go see why on our website at thedarkandstormynights.home.blog.
All right.
All right, we are back from break and we are talking about the brand and specifically somebody just gave us a good segue into this, I guess, right? J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, maybe like once you have built up, that giant audience and become popular and, have, I don't know, a hell of a lot of people following you, how to use your voice,
Right.
what your responsibility is at that point, and how to use your voice.
Well, protect your brand by not selling it.
Well,
For
okay.
one.
Look, I'm a person who believes in authenticity. I am authentically a fucking weirdo. Okay, I mean, I'm gonna say and do stupid shit from time to time.
But you
and
can
because-
admit and
an
still be
adult or
authentic.
whatever. But that said, I think as you build yourself up, as you become one of the big fish or what have you, you do have a certain responsibility not to use your power for evil.
Or
So
at the very least, you don't have to do good. Just don't do anything.
just don't do bad. Like, here's my thing. Okay, so in case we're being vague, because by the time this episode airs, this will be about a week old. But right now, Twitter is aflutter with all of this going on because J.K. Rowling just tweeted in support of a transphobe, of somebody who was who lost their job for basically creating a hostile work environment
Well, go ahead and give us
for
tweet. Give us some
a trans
perspective.
person. Okay.
So, because it's easy, I think, to pass a snap judgment on this whole thing, and I'm not backing the trans.
Well,
folks. That's
before
not
we
what
do
I'm
the-
saying, what I'm saying is that I think it's easy for somebody to say they're either for or against what this person did or said. But go ahead and read it so we have some context.
Well, before you read the tweet, shouldn't we tell the story of the person that it's in support of?
Just read the tweet and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
J.K. Rowling's actual tweet was, dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you, live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real. And then she's got the hashtag, I stand with Maya. And hashtag, this is not a drill, which I don't know what the hell that
Okay,
is.
so you can break that text down, and it's rather catty, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah, if you read into it,
She's basically dismissing trans identity.
Right.
I feel
least
like
that's how
at
it reads to
first
me.
it comes off as almost accepting, but then when you get to the bottom, you kind of realize that the top part is almost, it's dismissive.
Well, it's because the internet doesn't transmit context well. And so when you're reading that, at first, if we're just talking as a general.
Right. It's definitely, it's blatant support for a transphobic person, but then it's also cloaked in a way that's almost supposed to, like, she's good with words. We'll give her that. How about that?
Yeah, it could be uplifting if it wasn't for the fact that it's actually catty if you
Right.
know the situation.
Right.
So what happened was there was a woman, I thought I heard she was a researcher or something like that, who was fired from her job for her basically transphobic nature, her refusing to use the pronouns.
From
and
what I understand, there was an anti-discrimination policy within her workplace, and she
But-
refused to obey it.
Okay,
And
so
there was dead naming as well.
right. So regardless, if you pay attention to what was happening, she was literally bullying other employees. Okay. Now that's not said out in the open. Okay, but what you are doing when you are refusing to use somebody's pronouns, when you are, dead naming and
Using
stuff
their
like that.
current name right.
She's purposely, saying, well, I have the, or whatever. It's against my philosophy. It's against my beliefs or whatever like that. To treat people like a human being, you fucking
With
asshole.
respect, right.
That because what you were doing is bullying somebody.
Absolutely. It is 100% bullying. She was clearly creating a toxic work environment, and I can't imagine not firing her for that. Like,
Right, yeah.
if
I
you're an
would fire somebody
employer
for
who
less.
accepts somebody behaving that way towards coworkers, you're a shit employer.
Yes.
But to bring it back to topic, it's not really the politics we're discussing. It's the fact that she engaged in the politics, which is bad for brand.
So it's regardless of whether this woman, she got what was coming to her. The woman lost her job. And
She
then
did, and then she lost the case.
And that's what she deserved. She deserved every bit of that.
She
Fuck
did.
you. Sorry. Okay. Now
the
the problem
point-
is J.K. Rowling interjecting her,
right.
her
Her
opinion on this.
support.
Right. So you supported a bully. Okay. Regardless of whether they were transphobe or not.
A bully who made somebody feel unsafe and, like
Right.
their work wasn't an okay
Correct.
place for them to be.
Yes.
Like, that's awful.
And
So-
right before you said the ink is even dry on possibly a Netflix series.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not. I'm hearing rumors from people in the entertainment business or what have you. But yeah, I heard that there was something coming, and that can really damage the potential.
It could
for all
cancel
that.
it.
Yeah, it could cancel it, and it can do worse. And good,
I don't know that it's going to have that kind of impact. I don't know that somebody who's already made so much money is really going to feel the strain here.
But the question is, I mean,
That's not really the point. I mean, Twitter has really kind of exploded these past day or so.
it's unacceptable.
It took me a minute to figure out what was going on, and then as soon as I did, to be honest, I've gotten a lot of great followers out of it. I've seen some people who came out of the woodwork to be supportive, and all that. And then I actually had to unfollow a few people within the writing community, which is kind of sucky because you wanna think that writers have to be empathetic in order to write good characters, and you always just kind of assume that. That people have similar views that, humans should be
Unless they're
treated with
engaged in propaganda.
respect, that
What's
this
that?
is human decency, but it's not always the case,
yeah.
as
Sorry.
she's proven.
I didn't mean to step on you, but I was saying that unless you're engaging in propaganda,
What do you mean?
writers do that as well. I mean,
Where they exaggerate the.
if they have an axe to grind, a political angle,
I'm fine with politics and writing, and to be honest with you, I don't think that I have a single book that doesn't have an LGBTQ character of some sort in it.
Right.
I don't have any qualms about basically expressing my support for, within the community and with politics and all that. And my bottom line is that, If you unfollow me because of my political beliefs or my beliefs that everybody has a right to exist happily,
Right.
then you're not going to like my books anyway.
All right, let me give you an example.
Well, the problem here, though, is, and I'm sorry,
Sure.
but I'm going along with this. In J.K. Rowling's case, a lot of people felt that when she wrote the original books, it was kind of standing up for those who are different, you know. And
That's the sad part. I've seen a lot of people who are crushed by this
right,
because
and
of that.
she actually, and a lot of her audience that grew up with her books now feel attacked,
Yeah.
you know, and this could have a serious impact on her future sales
Nah,
because
I
they're
don't
not going
know.
to have that same feeling anymore.
It might.
Yeah, that's true.
I have stopped like buying products from people I find out are bad. You know.
Have you?
Yeah. Oh, I boycott all
So
the
that's
time.
kind of the point that
I
we're
ta-
making here.
I vote with my money. You know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
shop at any place that's awful. So no Amazon for me.
You had a
Well, backtracking to last point, just because it feels like it's hanging now. Not that it was even that important. But I was reading a little indie author who had a spacefaring story, and it was kind of interesting. And they had a sequel, and I'm like, oh, I'm curious to check this out. And I'm liberal. The author's apparently liberal. Like, I kind of felt that because he was writing about himself, you know, what he's interested in, his story, and that's fine. But the second book just felt like propaganda, and it was in support of my cause, and I couldn't stand it because it was just so heavily handed. And that what I'm saying is there's a difference between an author who's reflecting themselves on the pages because that's who they are and what else can you write about, and somebody who's actually got an agenda. So it doesn't surprise me that
guess
there
you're
will be
right.
unempathetic writers.
I'm not sure that I see a lot of J.K. Rowling's agenda. I am, however, questioning how much of what she has written was just for sales. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I defended her with the Dumbledore thing, saying she never mentioned what Dumbledore's sexuality
You know
before
what
was.
I did too?
and
I didn't
now-
think that was a big issue.
But you never had a relationship.
Now with
He
perspective,
never had a relationship, and we couldn't definitively say one way or the other. A
Right.
lot of people felt it was gay baiting, and I just, you know, like trying to increase her sales by attracting the LGBT
and now I'm starting to
community.
Would she
This,
be the
this
first
doesn't
liberal?
help her cause.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to agree with those people.
Would you be the first liberal to make money and become conservative?
No.
I really don't want to get too heavily political in the show, but it happens.
So basically, the bottom line here is we're not here to bash any authors or really, you know, get into political things. Although I will say that, you know, treating people with respect and decency is not a political thing. It should just be something that you do as a human being. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, yeah, okay. So, yeah, if I'm out with people and you don't treat the waiter well, I'm never doing anything with you again.
Yeah,
No, I
that's
agree.
always weird to see and uncomfortable. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, and this is kind of that thing, you
right.
know?
I agree. You're not wrong. And it's kind of sad because, like, you see those people who are kind of making those almost obscure comments. They're almost passive aggressive, but you know what the fuck they're talking about. They're trying to support her for the things that she said, and you're like, really? Like, you can't just, like, come out and say, oh, I support
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling.
No, if you really believe in something, have the balls to back it up.
I agree. Your passive aggressive, like, comments that, like,
Yeah.
anybody who,
Look,
like,
if you're being passive aggressive, you know that you are backing an awful
probably
thing.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all there is to it. Just either go full wrong or
Just
maybe
have the balls to
reevaluate who
admit
you are
that,
as a
yeah.
person. You know?
All right. So anyway, that's the point, is how are you using your voice as an author, as somebody with followers, as somebody who's going to be heard? So here's the question. Do authors or those with a voice of a greater reach or impact have a responsibility to use that voice for good? And I'm going to say, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Eh.
You have a superpower, whether you like it or not. That superpower is money and influence. But the fact of the matter is that you either use that superpower for good or you are a fucking villain.
I don't know. As an
No, you could use it for neutrality. You could just do nothing.
well, no. I mean, in my stories, I do kind of share some philosophies, I believe, but because I'm sharing
Not
myself.
necessarily in your stories, though. We just talked about building
This
up
is
your
platform.
audience.
This is the
Yes,
fact that you have
this is-
cameras in your face and
You have spent all this time publishing books and giving yourself a podium.
Honestly, if I had her kind of money, I would do good, or at least say good things to promote good. You know, stuff that took minimal effort. I
It
would
took
probably
no
do that
effort.
much.
So you're saying you'd
to
be
not-
evil, but you would do good things?
But no, that's
No,
the
no,
thing.
I'm saying is I would
She
support
could have
good causes
just-
because what would it matter
she
if half
could
the
have
audience is
just
pissing me?
Not tweeted. You know,
Yeah, all she had to do is shut up, yes.
she
Right.
could have just not
But that's what I'm saying.
bashed an entire group of people.
But I do think, beyond that, I do think that that money and influence is a superpower, and you're responsible to use it for good. You know,
But at the very
So here's
least,
the
don't
thing.
do
not
evil.
only, well, yes, she's done some charity and stuff like that, but this was blatantly one of those things where she should have just shut her fucking
There were
mouth.
plenty of times where I was like, yeah, go JK, you know, like her tweets, you know, about Trump and whatnot, and, you know,
Yeah,
his-
I've defended her a lot.
you're near nuclear weapons and blah, blah, blah.
No
yeah,
more.
she's right. But now this is just one you can no longer defend her on. You just
No.
can't.
Well, they always say don't meet your heroes. And I think this is one of those things where it's like, maybe she's 90% a good person. I don't know. But, you know, you're going to find a flaw and you're going to be like, I don't like this person now that I know them. And with the internet, it's you know everything about everybody.
I've met a lot of my heroes over the years, and it's largely true.
So that's something that I saw, though. Like, one person was tweeting something about authors, you know, with big platforms being attacked for every little thing. And it's like,
Maybe
are
don't-
you, though?
Maybe don't be an awful
Little
person.
things? Is this a little thing to you? Because it's not a little thing.
You know, it's kind of
This
tricky,
is
though.
saying that an entire group of people who are just trying to fucking survive and be happy do not deserve to be treated with respect and dignity.
Well,
That's
it's-
what you're saying. That's not a small fucking
It's
thing.
more than that, man. I mean, look, if you're being attacked over every little thing, maybe you need to look at who you are.
Sure.
I don't think they were saying that they were being attacked over every little thing. What they were saying is, as soon as these authors have a following, they're being attacked for
You
every
should
little
be.
thing. I have seen exactly 2 authors be attacked recently. One of them is J.K. Rowling over this. The other one was an author that I'm not familiar with, and I honestly couldn't even give you her name right now if I wanted to, but I wouldn't anyway. She wrote a book series that basically romanticized a relationship with an underage girl,
Ooh.
like 15 or 16, I think, and a fully adult man who was her coach and in a position of authority over her.
Gross.
And then in the second book, he drugged her with sleeping medicine and then raped her while she was sleeping.
Really gross. Yeah.
Super gross. And so there was all sorts of people coming out of the woodwork to defend this woman, and those are literally the only 2 times. And
That's
there was
at least on the
obviously
subject matter of her book, though.
that's, but that like this was there was like people everywhere attacking her for these things. Like pedophilia is not romance, rape is not,
Right.
you know.
Right. Yeah.
So raping, you know, somebody who's underage is not okay. Like those kinds of things.
Look, there's nothing wrong with it. If you've got a gritty story, and this is a gritty thing that happened in your gritty story or whatever, that's one thing. To romanticize it is an entirely other thing.
Right.
But my point is that these are the only 2 things that I have seen authors with, I guess, larger followings being attacked over any time recently.
Right.
Neither one of those things is anything that's just a little thing that
I
you
mean-
just get attacked over for no reason.
There may have been authors, writers, whatever. I mean, Joss Whedon's been attacked over stuff, and
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams has
what?
been attacked over stuff.
I honestly couldn't find the
There-
tweet.
There's just
It
there's
sounded
tweets.
really creepy,
Dan
though.
Harmon was attacked over stuff. He
Yeah,
did.
that was messed up.
Look,
but
okay, I've got some dark humor. Okay, the fact of the matter is they were trying to be funny often, and they failed.
That's the
it fell
thing.
on its face. It is what it is. You
Okay,
make a
that's the
bad
thing
joke
is
that
that if
falls
you're
on its
trying
face.
to be funny, okay, neither of these people were obviously
They were
trying
dark
to be funny.
jokes. They were very dark.
It was early,
Okay, but
early
that's my
career.
point, is they made bad jokes. But these people were not making jokes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling and this other author, there was no joking. They weren't trying to
Okay,
be
but
funny.
I've made jokes about, I don't know, incest. I don't believe in incest. Okay?
Again, you're talking about jokes.
I'm
That's not the
joking,
same
right.
thing.
But the fact of the matter is these people got torn apart on
That's
this
like
stuff.
half
Okay.
of Cards Against
Now-
Humanity.
Now we
That's
want to
the-
make sure,
that's
and,
what I'm
and
saying,
Dan
is
Harmon
those are
recovered,
jokes.
J.J. Abrams recovered, or what was it, Joss Whedon recovered, or whatever. Anyways, they recovered from these things. They're back on.
That's the thing, is
whatever.
if you're going to make a morbid joke, you at least have to be funny,
Okay.
or it's not going to
maybe
fly.
you own it, but this thing, I think in Dan Harmon's case, it was like, it was a bad joke. I made a bad joke. Sorry. It is what it is.
Right.
You know?
And be clear that it's a fucking joke. Because that's
it
where
was,
you go wrong.
It was
a lot
hard to
of
see.
the
It
time.
wasn't funny. It was hard to see where he was going with it, but
This is a bit problematic, though, because you were talking about branding and being out there and social media and constantly interacting. And the more you sure of yourself, the more you build up your brand, the more you not just hawk your book or your shirts or whatever. The more you share, the more you open yourself up to this possibility of somehow offending somebody or getting some group against you. And as a smaller author, you're not likely to recover as easily.
You should be held to a higher standard. Period.
You're held to the standard of being a decent human. Like literally,
I get that.
The
I
bar
get that. But
is
you
not
never,
high.
you never know what the hot button issue might be that week.
You might offend a couple of people if you like misword something,
But the truth
because
of the matter is,
Twitter can't always grab
if
context or tone.
I'm not trying to quote
but
these.
If it was a joke, you can often own it, and it will kind of get swept away eventually. You know.
Do you
what I'm
think
saying?
that's true for smaller people than
I think
some
it's true
like
for
Dan
almost
Harmon
anybody.
or
If you want to look, it was a bad joke. I'm sorry, it was a joke. I was trying to get publicity, and saying inflammatory things do that. It's the Howard Stern effect. It's a known thing that if I say horrible things, enough people will latch on eventually, and you'll get famous. That's how it works.
Maybe don't use that technique with your author.
Well, these guys are more
brand.
like I said. Dan Harmon, he writes for TV and stuff like that. That's
so
yeah.
be
So
careful
he can
out
do
there.
that. You can't.
so.
So anyway, the next part of the idea was that when you have a small audience, the person that you're hurting most with your hateful comments is yourself.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But when you have a huge audience and have already made a ton of money, should you not consider who you're hurting with your voice? Should you not rethink that tweet before you hit publish?
You should always think before you tweet. I
Don't
mean,
drink and tweet.
nobody should be malicious towards anybody else or anything like that. I mean, I think there's certain groups that are not off limits. Overall, we don't hurt people who don't deserve it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. There's trash people out there who deserve to be picked on. And that's just life.
People who try to harm other people,
Yes,
sure.
yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
So
That could be subjective.
could it?
Well, I don't want to get into it with, man. Well,
Honestly, no. I don't think it's that cloudy of a subject to just be a good person.
okay. I don't really want to muddy the waters, but would you ever attack a religious organization?
If they were committing evil acts, yes.
Okay, argument could definitely be made, and that would definitely offend a lot of people.
In fact, I do make those jokes, just not on Twitter.
Well, that's good.
That's the point. Keep your freaking real life bad jokes that are offensive to your personal crap where people can hate the real you, and keep your author brand clear of any kind of thing that is damaging to other groups. How's that sound? Is that simple enough? I think it's pretty clear cut.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't be a dick under your pen name. How's that? Is that hard?
Well, if your author voice is a dick,
Be a dick, but don't be hateful. How's that?
yes, that I could agree to.
don't be a bad person. I don't know. I feel like you can offer a little internet.
I don't feel like the line is blurry. I really don't.
No, I don't think so either. I can make fun of
This is coming from Loki.
of rapists and murderers and stuff like that.
Okay,
They
no, that's
deserve to be
different.
trashed. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care what you say. I'm going to make fun of those people.
Sure.
So
Okay, so now the next question is, are writers that write for more impressionable readers held to a higher standard?
absolutely.
Oh God, yeah.
People who write children's books, middle grade, YA, should they be more careful
Well,
with
what
what
age
they're
is YA?
saying?
That's another one.
Well, it depends, but you have to keep this in mind, that these are like some YA leans towards teenagers, some of it leads towards adults, but
You-
these are girls most often who are reading stories about what they can expect from men in relationships quite a bit, or other
you got to
partners.
expect if you're writing for young adults, the younger audience will also get into it. So I can be writing for 18 to 25-year-olds, but 15-year-olds are going to read it too.
Like that's
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
saying. Isn't YA like 16 to 20? Or
I don't know if it's ever been clearly
no,
defined.
it has by several different people with several different definitions.
So it hasn't.
But you're right. Like 15. Well, let's look at it this way. Twilight was huge with 15-year-olds.
And if I was reading many years above my, as an 11-year-old, I was reading stuff that you probably would be reading at between 16 and 25. Who can say? All you can do is target an audience and hope that's the audience.
So this was, I think, the point
They don't card for
with that
books?
one author who had written about the 15-year-old who ended up sleeping with her coach, who was in a position of power over her, and
Right.
people, I think, felt that was irresponsible for readers who, I mean, I think that it was adult books. God, I hope so. But I think that people felt that it was irresponsible to put that into YA type stories and paint it as romance.
Wait, that's in a
Yeah.
YA story?
I think so.
What? I thought that was like erotica or something.
Isn't YA
Something creepy.
I don't know. Maybe it was. Why isn't YA usually based on like the age of the character, not necessarily?
Well, I thought
the
it was a genre.
Well, yeah, because that group, it's also about the fact that the reader identifies with the main characters.
So maybe that's where I got YA from.
Okay.
It could be erotica. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Maybe not. So anyway, like that's the idea, is our writers who write, like J.K. Rowling writing for younger readers, are they held to a higher standard of
Okay, but
do
look,
no harm?
I gotta say that I think you write what you write. You know
Wait,
what I'm
are you
saying?
talking about in person or in the book?
No, I'm talking about like tweets and stuff like that. Are they, or should they be more cautious with their words because
Ooh.
they're
Well, I mean, be kind
well,
with your
in
words.
the book as well, though.
Well, definitely in the book, but I mean, there's still a human being got to live a life. I guess that's a good
It's a muddy
point up for a
question,
pen
isn't
name
it?
there.
Look, I refuse to dictate what you do as art. Okay, I refuse to tell you that you can't write a certain way. Write whatever you want, just maybe don't market it to children. You know what I'm saying, or don't market
Right.
it.
No,
to
you're gonna.
to
People are
young
gonna
adults,
write
you know what I'm
whatever
saying?
they want. I mean, do
So,
you have a responsibility in what you were putting out?
I would say
Yeah, you kind of do, but
But is it up to you as to whether it's marketed towards?
that's the thing is no one can tell you.
well, you wrote it, so yeah, it kind of is.
Is it? Is it?
I mean, is your brain stuck in that age? I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure that the publishing companies choose who
Well, it
it's
depends
marketed
Well,
on if
sure,
you,
but you
if
wrote the genre, so
if
I
you
mean-
self-publish or if your publishing company you're right. Your publishing company would have more control over the advertising than you.
That's my point.
Should they do any advertising? So I don't know. I mean, this is all muddy areas. We
problem
don't have the answers to
is
these questions. We're just
what
posing the questions.
what you write is going to fall into the hands of whoever gets a hold of it. I mean, I was reading, weird shit when I was getting Lenny Bruce and frickin' Siddhartha and stuff like that as a teenager, and
You are weird.
to me, I was like, to me, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna start a cult.
Oh, Lord.
You know?
Thank God that never took. Score 1 for procrastination.
Well, I would say that if 80% of your
Yes.
work falls under that category and you have a pen name, then your Twitter or whatever social media under that pen name should probably follow the genre. But you have a real identity and a real name, and you can write under multiple pen names.
Assuming you
Many
do.
authors do.
Look, I just say be kind to the people who deserve your kindness, and only be nasty to people who deserve your nastiness. You know what I'm saying? To just choose
Yeah,
people
just
randomly because
move
you
that
don't
line
like the way
around
they
based
are.
on
or-
what suits them.
But that's what I'm saying. Oh, you just don't like the way they live their life when it has zero impact on you? Grow the fuck up.
I mean, we've all come to learn that you have to be better and smarter about how you use the internet. So as an author, as it's a business, you have to be even smarter. You have to be
But
a little
that's
more
the
aware.
thing. Yeah, your name is a business when you're in the entertainment industry.
And your words have power. You're a
Sure.
freaking author. You
Right.
know this. You know this. So that is the bottom line.
yeah, being a
is-
transphobe is gross. I'm sorry.
Tweet responsibly.
Yeah.
Know what you're putting out there. And be like, honestly, you're free to put out whatever you want, but you're not free from the consequences of what you put
That's
out.
true. Yeah, say what you like, but if it comes back and bites you, don't whine about it. You created that.
Right. Okay, and then I think the last concept was just, can you separate the artist from the art, and vice versa? The death
Yes,
of an author
to a
concept.
point, but that's the thing. I am influenced by how bad a person is. I do not shop where I feel people have been bad, so I won't buy. If I find a musician is an awful person, I don't buy their music.
Well, we
If I
talked
find
about
out-
this with your the Cthulhu guy.
Oh, H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh,
No,
yeah, no.
He's long dead. He's
Right.
not
Right.
making any of the money off of this.
Right.
I like the universe. It is what it is.
Sadly,
he
a
was
product of
xenophobe,
his time.
and his mental illness fed
Sure.
his writing universe. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
And
And when I say mental illness, I mean being a bigot.
well, no, he actually had a multiple issues.
He did have other issues.
That
and,
fed into that.
And he was sickly, and you could tell by his elongated face that there was other genetic issues involved there.
But I mean, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I remember I got the movie Oliver Twist. It was was directed by Roman Polanski. I didn't know his whole history at the time. I just enjoyed the movie as a kid, and I was like, oh, there's an updated version that might be fun. And then, so I own it. I didn't throw it in the trash, but I would never buy
But the
another
money was
thing.
already spent, yeah. The money
You know,
was,
it's just holy crap when you you actually see a doc on that. You're like, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would never intentionally waste money on a being like that after the fact, but
Yeah, I think the same thing. I will tell you, I did not get through all of the Harry Potter books in the first place, and it had nothing to do with J.K. Rowling. It was just when I learned that one of a set of twins dies, I was like, nope, I'm out. I can't do it. You know, that is just too much for me. So it was the death. I knew I wouldn't be able to read and not end up with like a week-long depression. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think that the art and the artist are separate. On the other hand, though, I don't think I want to necessarily give bad people my money.
right. I mean, it's like, do you still listen to Michael Jackson songs when it's on air?
He's dead. Who cares?
Is the death wash away sins like that?
No, the art is the art. I can enjoy the art, and he's dead. He's not getting the money. That's my point.
Well, in an indirect way, he kind of is, because
He's
go
dead.
to
He didn't take
his
it with him.
estate or whatever.
Who gives a fuck? His kids were victims.
All right. But that's the thing.
I don't
It's
know
like
what we're talking about. But
it's separating the art and the artist.
Because
So here's
I
the
don't want to
bottom line.
reward the artist, but at the same time, the art is a separate
That's
thing.
your personal opinion, though, and the bottom line is, the answer is different for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people can separate the art from the artist, and some people cannot, and both of those things are perfectly valid. That's kind of a personal thing. If you liked Harry Potter and you found solace in those books in some way, which a lot of people apparently did,
Sure,
then
it's their childhood for a lot of people.
yeah, I mean,
Well, I think it's stupid. If you
It
already
is what
own
it
something,
is.
it's dumb to get rid of it. You already own it. You're
Right.
not hurting the author in any way.
she's already got her millions, and
if it
she'll
brought you
she'll
happiness,
dry
it
her
brought you
tears with her
happiness.
dollar bills.
Yeah,
and
seriously.
So I mean, that's the thing, is that people really shouldn't feel guilty for this, world that gave them comfort, but
Well,
at the same time,
On the other hand,
it'll probably affect future things. I mean, I honestly, I don't know that I can
I'm
either.
unlikely to spend any money.
I quite
on
liked
future
Fantastic
Harry Potter.
Beasts, but I don't know that I'll go see it when the next one comes out.
I'll pirate it.
Nice. Oh my God, we don't condone that.
No, that was a joke. Okay,
Talk about moral ambiguity.
it was a joke. I don't.
Do you remember what we said about watching your words and your author brand?
It was a joke.
I don't know. I think it's a case-by-case thing. I'd like to think that I wouldn't support it, but I mean, when you love a genre, it's like, what if George Lucas or some horrible crap about that? Would it stop me from Star Wars 10? Probably not. I don't know.
It
The
may be on
horrible
a
crap
case
that
by
George
case.
Lucas did was making episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
That's the
and I
horrible
still
thing to
watch
do.
7, 8, and I will go see 9.
I didn't. 2 and 3 weren't that bad.
Oh
1
my
was bad.
God.
Sand. I hate
Dude.
sand.
Phantom
The only
Menace
thing
was
it gave us
bad.
is the fact that I now know that Jar Jar Binks is the ultimate Sith Lord.
God, if he'd released that cut, if they tie that in episode 9, I'd forgive all of it.
Okay.
All of it.
Are we done?
I don't know. Are we out of time?
Oh, we are way over time.
Oh, my bad.
You
Sorry.
guys are going to cause me so much work in editing. So, all right, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Thanks. Good night.
Bye.